And so, it begins. Dark were the skies, and chill was the wind, as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did crowd for a savior, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shimmering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with righteous fury. And when the day was done, and the enemy strewn across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. Myself, Total Biscuit. The date today is the 27th of March, 2009. If you are living in the true country, it is 8 o'clock in the evening. If you are living in other, false, lesser countries, it is different times to confuse you, to confuzzle you, to leave you breathless, to leave you stunned and malleable to our takeover. What have we got coming up for you in the show today? Very special show. We've got an interview, yes indeed. We're going to be talking to a man by the name of Pixel Smith, who has been on a tour of Europe to meet his guildmates. He's been all over the place and he's been documenting his experiences. So we're going to have him on the show a little bit later on to talk about the social benefits of WoW and perhaps what the media's view of MMOs might be, considering the Pixel Smith actually works at a newspaper. So we should have some very unique insights. That'll be coming out about 45 minutes into the show. Also, this week, we should be talking about RNG. Random loot is random. But just how random? And indeed, should it be less random? Or perhaps more random? Who knows? We're talking about random loot and a year spent not getting my Hex's cover. A little bit later on in the show. Also, buying gold. Debating virtual currency selling across multiple games, platforms, and economies. We're digging into that very, very sleazy subject a little bit later on in the show. Also, your chance to contribute to the show, your chance to throw one little note in my direction in the form of a small internet paper aeroplane. Many will come, an entire fleet perhaps, but only one will be chosen. It's the illusion of choice! Yes, indeed. You may email themurloc@gmail.com, that is themurloc@gmail.com, if you wish to partake in the illusion of choice. Send your topic in to me. Also, if you have any other correspondence, email, or whatever during the show, send it to themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Alternatively, me being the 21st century hip kid that I am, you can also send it via a tweet. So go on to twitter.com. You'll find me on twitter.com/TotalBiscuit. You can subscribe to my Twitter feed and send me an @reply if for some reason your reply consists of 140 odd characters or less. And if it does, then I hope that you make every word count. That's all I can say. So yes, twitter.com/TotalBiscuit is my Twitter feed. Now, there was one other thing that's also going to be coming up later on the show. I'm going to leave this one to the end. I've written a new song. I've decided to get back into writing songs again. I wrote the Pug Roll introduction last week, and people seem to quite like that. And I've written another song, which I can't actually sing, so I haven't recorded that yet. I'm actually looking for someone, and this is a general request to anyone who's listening out there. If you have ever sung Metallica before, and are considered to be rather good at it, or if you've ever been perhaps in a Metallica tribute band, or bought Guitar Hero Metallica, or sung a lot of Metallica on Rock Band and do so rather well, email me, because I have a proposition for you. Yes, indeed, I've written a parody song to the tune of Enter Sandman. Unfortunately, it's completely out of my range and it sounds terrible, and me not being Terpster, I actually have some quality standards and don't wish to unleash that upon you without having a decent singer. So, if you can sing Metallica, email themurloc@gmail.com. However, I do have a song coming up for you later in the show, which is something different entirely, and I'm going to shoot for having one of these a week. You know what? I'm going to add it to the show. Make it a new feature. Because I kind of like it, it's pretty fun, and it turns out that Amazon MP3 is a very good place to find karaoke tracks. So yes, I'll be endeavouring to get a song a week out. We'll see how that goes. You'll have to wait till the end of the show for that one, though. Now that that's all out of the way, let's get on with this, because we are short on time and we got a lot to cover, so...
That sounds like it's mail time. Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag
my tail.
When it comes,
I want to wail.
Yes, indeed, it's mail time. Now, I would say last week, but it actually isn't. It really isn't last week's, because it was actually Tuesdays. Also, I've just got a great email I've got to read here. Darcy Ibsen, who says this: I normally don't listen to the music because I'm rarely around for the live shows and have to catch up, but do you do this to Finn Troll often? You are a horrible person. That's from Darcy. I can't pronounce that. That's insane. That's a strange Canadian name. It's foreign to me. He's from Bloodscalp, US. No, I really don't do that often, but for some reason people seem to like it after Tuesday's show where I decided to speed everything up. Lord knows why. Now, Tuesday's debate, the big debate, probably the biggest debate we've ever really had as regards to people in IRC, emails, tweets, forums, everywhere. You know, it's a multimedia debate crossing the entire internet, was the validity of the new add-on policy, which prevented add-on makers from inserting primarily donation links or premium paid-for versions of add-ons into the game. And I naturally sided with the add-on makers, and I've taken a bit of flack for it. But me being the fair person that I am, I have no issues whatsoever reading out constructive criticism, indeed even if it is a little bit insulting. Presenting the other point of view is very important. That's what people need to realise. Debates are bigger than the ego of just one person. It doesn't matter if someone disagrees with you, only that they are able to express their opinion in a properly well-constructed, well-thought-out, rational manner. So I'm going to read this email, and do so happily. And it's entitled, TB, you are smoking crack regarding the add-on policy. Sorry. And here it goes. Yo, TB, sorry, but I think you are totally wrong on the add-on policy issues, and furthermore, a lot of what you said goes against something you said a few months earlier. First off, let me make it clear that I think formal legal action is total BS, laughable in fact, and possibly an Activision-guided threat, because I never thought Blizzard was that stupid. Well, first things first, just to point out there, Blizzard did the same thing against Glider. Now, while you might think that that was justified, there were concerns around the time that the Glider decision was not properly thought through. And indeed, it basically said that if you load something into the RAM, it becomes like a copyright infringement. That was the gist of the decision, and that was considered by a lot of people, including the EFF, to be particularly dodgy, and I can't say I was massively happy with it either. And I have a feeling that this add-on policy is actually stemming directly from that ruling. Anyway, let's continue. First off, your little tirade about how because Blizzard didn't create LUA, it's Lua, by the way, not LUA, and it's not an acronym. No, I call it Lua. Lua? Lua sounds stupid. I'm sorry, LUA. That means they are not allowed to control what does and doesn't run on their platform. Actually, yes, they can. They didn't create LUA, and LUA is an IT license, yes, but this means nothing. Blizzard's implementation of LUA includes their API and their context and their security manager, and they choose what runs on it. End of. Legal action, stupid, yes, but saying they shouldn't be able to control what runs on their VM is silly, and in fact contradicts something you said a few months ago. Now, first things first, I didn't actually say that they weren't able to stop people. Yes, of course they could say whatever they damn well please and stop whatever they damn well please running in their game. Doesn't mean they should. And that was the distinction that has to be made. They can do whatever the hell they want. If they want to stop everyone except a very small village in Iceland from connecting to the game, they could do that too. It's entirely up to them. Should they? No. Anyway, and he goes on. Apparently this is a contradiction. When you were talking about the gold ads on the forum scandal even, you said that it is Blizzard's responsibility to make sure that code running from external sources does not do bad things. Well, you actually implied that they shouldn't use third-party code/services at all, but we'll ignore that because I don't live in Cloud Cuckoo Land. Well, to start with, we don't use third-party ad providers, and a bunch of other sites don't either. We don't need to, and indeed, had Blizzard just stuck to its reasonably acceptable position of advertising and cross-promoting its own products on its own forums, rather than renting out space to other people just to grab a quick buck, then they wouldn't have had to use a third-party system to begin with. So I'd hardly call it Cloud Cuckoo Land. I'd have thought that somewhere in the Blizzard web team there would be the expertise to sort that out, considering somewhere in our web team we have the expertise to sort that out, and our web team consists of, like, one guy. Anyway, he goes on. That is exactly what they're doing here. It is their business decision whether you or add-on developers like it or not, to not want other people to be able to place advertising in their game. Add-on windows can be totally indistinguishable from official Blizzard windows. Hell, you can even put advertising in the official Blizzard windows using an add-on if you really wanted to. And they have decided that a blanket ban on all advertising would be easier than hoping some add-ons don't take the piss. Why they have extended this to donation requests, I don't know, but I definitely lean more towards not wanting to have product placement for other people in the game, rather than just being spiteful to add-on devs as suggested. Well, to be honest, that doesn't really contradict anything I said. The fact of the matter is that you've got add-ons, and then you've got forum ads. Now, add-ons are pretty much essential, and stopping advertising in-game in any form is utterly unrealistic. Let's face it, it's going to happen all the damn time. Now, putting the ads on the forums was an entirely, and I do mean entirely, voluntary thing by them to make some extra money. And as regards to donation links, I can't say that donation links are something of a security risk, and indeed neither is the form of advertising that you can put in the game, which is basically just links. Now, were there malicious links in there, it would be very quickly pointed out and the add-on would not be used by anyone ever again. Now, this is something that people have to bear in mind, that building up trust is very important when you want to have a successful add-on. Websites like Curse and WoW Interface and that kind of thing do not want bad add-ons on their site, and they will go to any lengths to stop it. And if you're an add-on developer and you want people to download your add-ons, if you screw up even once and put crap in your add-ons, people are never going to download it again. It's a trust thing. People are very paranoid in this day and age. So no, I wouldn't say that it was the same thing at all. Especially regarding a donation link, because a donation link can simply consist of a PayPal email address, which is not even, in any stretch of the imagination, a security issue. Anyway, he continues. Since you use the iPod and third-party accessory analogy, I feel I should point out that Apple does do this with the iPhone. Plenty of people have been told their iPhone apps are not allowed for various reasons. For example, you may not write an iPhone app that downloads podcasts because it might compete with iTunes. Now, I believe that has actually been recently changed, but whatever. The thing with the iPhone is that they do allow people to develop for it using their API, and the people who develop retain the intellectual property rights to it, and obviously they give a certain license to Apple when they upload to the iTunes store, or the iPhone store even, and they're allowed to sell their stuff for profit, and that's not even an issue. So I don't really think that's a particularly good example. Yes, it is kind of silly that they do not allow some things that compete, like, say, other browsers and stuff like that. But generally speaking, Apple, I believe, the statistic was that a vast majority, I can't remember the exact number, of apps are allowed on as long as they have a specific purpose and are properly written. And yes, they can charge whatever they like for it, and Apple doesn't really mind. Now, I'm not suggesting that Blizzard opens up a paid-for add-on store. Not at all. That's just silly. But I am suggesting that they allow what all manner of other providers do with their APIs, which is to simply allow donation links. Because let's face it, it's time spent, and time spent deserves compensation. Assuming that you, as the user, believe that that is the case. It is entirely optional. It's not like it's being forced on anybody whatsoever. Now, he says, I know this is a terrible wall of text, and I don't really expect you to agree with me or read it on air. Ha ha, fail. But I just wanted to let you know that, in my opinion, you dropped the ball on this one. Slow rant fuel week, maybe. Well, here's the thing that you've got to understand about me when it comes to intellectual property. I went to university, and I went to go and study law with the specific purpose of learning about intellectual property law. When I was in my interview with the head of the entire law school down in De Montfort, and he asked me why I wanted to do law, the first thing that came to mind was I want to learn about intellectual property law and how it is applied in the digital age, because I think it is an evolving and fast-moving thing, and there is a lot of danger that smaller companies and individuals could get trampled on. And indeed, it has been the case. Consumers get trampled on at every curve for the sake of intellectual property law in the digital age. DRM, prime example. And this is yet another example, in my opinion, of things getting trodden on. 3 years of law at university culminated in me writing my dissertation on intellectual property law in the digital age, and I concluded that intellectual property law has been perverted and twisted over the past 50 or so years to be used as a weapon against smaller developers, against smaller companies and individuals, as opposed to a shield to protect innovation and protect creativity. Now, in my opinion, this is yet another example of that happening, and if I did not stand up for that, then I would basically be an empty suit. I would have written something which had no meaning, just for the sake of getting marks. And no, I actually put my passion and my thoughts into that piece. And it got good marks. I was pretty impressed with it. I was pretty pleased. I really think that's probably the most meaningful thing I've ever done or ever written in my life, is to have written that piece of work. And I'm very proud of it. So, to say that perhaps I've dropped the ball and maybe it was just a slow week would, I believe, be a little bit disingenuous, because this is a subject that I am more passionate about perhaps than anything else, and I do believe absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, in protecting the little guy and protecting the creativity of other people. It is vitally important, because those people do not have the kind of legal defences that large companies have, and those people are the future of development and the future of creativity in the digital age. Add-on developers must be protected from this kind of thing, and add-on developers must be allowed to claim compensation from willing, voluntary third parties for their work. Because otherwise, it's just going to die out. Things like that are going to get tread on, they're going to get run down, they're going to get forced out of the market, and creativity in itself, with the wonderful new world that we have with the internet, will die. And that is something I do not want to see, and if I have to get flamed for it, then that is fine by me. Standing up for one's principles is more important than being popular all the time. My name is Total Biscuit, and you're listening to Blue Please here on WOW Radio. I've got some songs for you in the form of Scar Symmetry. Massive, massive fan of this particular band. The name of this track is The Illusionist. It's from their album Pitch Black Progress, and I'll be right back after this. Enjoy.